Hello everyone and welcome to one of the finest games we've seen in a while. It's actually a game from the 2016 World Rapid Championship that took place in Qatar, Doha, the one won by the great Vasily Ivanchuk, and it's a game between Teimour Radjabov and Olexandr Bortnyk, and it features, well, such a brilliant move that the move alone will make you enjoy this game immensely. So without further ado, let's check it out as there is a lot to cover. It's a very short game, but still it features a lot of very cool lines. So Radjabov opens with knight to f3. He opts for the Reti opening. We have d6 and now d4. We have knight to f6 and both players now prepare to fianchetto their kingside bishop. So g3, we have g6. Bishop to g2, bishop to g7, and b3. Radjabov also now prepares to fianchetto the dark square bishop as well, and black says that's perfectly fine. This is, after all, still all standard theory. So here, bishop to b2, and nowadays maybe knight b to d7 or e5 would be the go-to moves, but in those days bishop to f5 was also very much a playable move. So here, Radjabov continues grabbing more space in the center. We have c4 and now queen to c8, and with this move black makes his plans known. He wants to play bishop to h3 and he wants to eliminate white's light square bishop and then weaken white's king side. So here we have h3. Radjabov prevents that, and now c5, striking in the center. And here you have to be careful a little bit. Your bishop here is undefended. If the position opens up, you might lose it. So here, knight to c3, again just continuing development. This pawn is very nicely defended by the queen and by the knight, so it's not a problem. Knight to c6, continuing development and adding more pressure to the center. And now we have rook to c1, and it is as of move 10 that we have a completely new game, or as this is a game from 2016, this position has never been reached again. And the reason I haven't covered any games from this tournament is because I was pretty much just starting out in 2016 with the channel, and yeah, this was just happening. But I was following the tournament online. So here, bishop to h6. Black decides to get to make a white get rid of this rook from c1, but this is already where things get very interesting. Here, Radjabov pushes d5, and now we have this weird position where white is offering a rook, but we often know when black goes for this setup where he wants to have a nice bishop fianchetto on g7, if the bishop is eliminated, then you will have dark square weaknesses because all of your pawns are now on light squares, and as white has a very strong dark square bishop, this could be a problem. So just d5 by Radjabov, going after the knight here, and you don't have to go after the rook, but let's say you go knight to e5 and now knight to h4. What do you play here? You still kind of have to go after the rook. There's, there's not all that much you can do here. If you try something like g5 to try and force white to capture here, white can even play queen d2, and now you cannot capture because the bishop is hanging, and it's a really crazy position. And if you don't have compensation for weakening your king's position like this, you don't really want to do it. So instead, after d5, after all, this is a rapid game, black decides, okay, what's the worst that can happen? He plays bishop captures on c1, and Radjabov grabs it with the queen. And now the queen gains access to the h6 square. So here we have knight to d4, now offering to trade on more material. Black is now up material and he wants to trade down, and of course he doesn't mind captures, as this also trades down material even further. So here, Radjabov continues pushing on the king's side. He plays g4, now forces this bishop to move back, and you don't have a very good square other than d7. So this is what he goes for. We have bishop to d7, bishop to c2, also maybe playable, but I mean, it's such a weird move to play. And also, you know, the knight can be captured, then captures, attacks this knight. It's a very complicated line, but okay, it's a rapid game. You don't want to calculate too much. So bishop back to d7, and now comes queen to h6, and already this is very unpleasant. The knight is probably coming to g5, and then this knight is stuck here forever. You have to guard this h7 pawn. h4, h5 is always an idea, just opening up the h file for the rook. So black needs to find a reasonable way to defend, and what other way to do it than to remove one of the active attackers. So knight captures on f3. Bishop captures, and now knight to e8. Now the knight is covering the g7 square, and for the moment black doesn't have to worry about the g7 square. And here Teimour decides that he's gonna go for knight to e4. Now he wants to bring the other knight to g5, but I will show it as it's a very forcing line. h4 is also very much playable, but like I said, it's a rapid game. You can't spend all that much time calculating. The point is that you can give up the g4 pawn and then just play h5, and you're just completely winning. If g captures, you're just gonna play bishop captures, and after queen captures, you're gonna eliminate this pawn, threatening rook g5, and that's a game over. Whatever you play, if queen g1 checked, you just move the king, it's not a problem. Next move, rook g5 wins the game. There's no move black can play. But okay, knight to e4 was played in the game, also seems to be very nice, as the knight is coming to g5, but here black has this very stubborn defense of f6, and now white again needs to find a way to go about this position, and now, only now, Teimour goes for h4 and h5. We have bishop captures on g4, the only playable move by black, and now h5. So preparing to open up the h file for the rook. We have g captures on h5, and now comes knight to g5. This is what you have to resort to, as black now has f6 played, so you don't have checkmate here, as the knight is covering that, so it doesn't matter if the pawn captures, but you don't really have a better move, or rather there is one, and again I will show it because I know you guys enjoy seeing it. Here it seems like you're completely lost. Queen captures on h7 is coming, and the only good defense is rook to f7. The reason why rook to f7 is good is because, this cannot be calculated in a rapid game. The point is, after knight captures, you have to play queen to f5. And if you find queen to f5, then everything falls into place, because the knight has no squares, the knight will be recaptured. And even if you go for something like captures and captures, again, you don't have to worry about the h file being open, as the h7 pawn is defended by the queen. And now, even if rook to h5, there's this queen to b1 check. And if bishop blocks, then just king captures on f7, and you are perfectly fine here. The queen still defends this pawn, this queen must guard the bishop here, and you don't have really anything better than just to trade queens, captures, captures, and captures. And after this, we have this endgame where the material is completely even. So this is what might be possible if black finds the absolute best maneuver, but that is very rarely the case in actual games. So here f captures on g5 is played, and now comes queen captures on g5 with check. You don't really have any options. If you block with the knight, then this is just checkmate. So the only move is king to f7, and now there is only one move that wins the game for Radjabov. So feel free to pause the video and try to find this elusive idea from the position in the thumbnail while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on parting with your queen. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's queen captures on h5. This beautiful queen sacrifice is the only move that wins the game. And I know what you're saying. You're probably saying, surely something like rook captures on h5 wins just as well. I mean, what can black do? The problem is black has this annoying, again, queen to f5 move, and this saves him the game. Now you're again guarding the h7 square. You're offering a queen trade, and there's not much more you can do. If bishop captures on g4, now you again have this queen to b1 check, and it's not a problem. Bishop c1, knight to f6 defends everything, attacks the rook, defends this, rook to g8 is coming, and black is even better here. So the fact of the matter is that queen captures on h5 with check is the only winning idea here. Point is, you do not have king to g8, then queen captures on h7 is just checkmate. Now the h file has opened up as the queen eliminated the h pawn. So here, your only move possible is bishop captures on h5, but now comes white's decisive attack. Bishop captures on h5 with check, king to g8, and now rook to g1. Again with check. You have to block this, knight to g7, and now white is going to force black into some windmill action. So rook captures with check, king to h8, and now this is called a windmill because the bishop is ready to deliver check, and wherever the rook moves, check will be delivered. So what can you play here? If this pawn wasn't here, you just play something like rook to g6, you deliver check, and that would be it. For example, rook f6, bishop captures, this would be checkmate. But since the e7 pawn is here, first we're going to eliminate this pawn with check. So rook captures with check, And now what do you play here? If king g8 now like we've said, the pawn has been eliminated, and now we just deliver checkmate. Rook g7 check, king h8, and now rook anywhere along the g file. Even rook g1 is enough, because after the rook blocks, this will be checkmate. All of these squares are covered. So after rook captures on e7, black tried rook to f6. This vacates the f8 square for the black king. So here bishop captures on f6 with check, king to g8, and now again rook to g7 with check. So if you go to h8, then just moving the rook is checkmate. So king to f8, and now comes rook captures on h7. And here Radjabov says, I control these three squares with my bishop pair. As you can see, it is most definitely fully operational. And here black doesn't have a move. Whatever you play, next move is rook to h8 checkmate. Okay, you could prolong maybe the game with some silly moves like queen to g4, but on this channel we do not discuss such moves. So here queen to f5 was played. Black had to play something, and of course in the next move Radjabov played rook to h8, and this is now checkmate. Took 29 moves, and like I said, in modern chess this can very well be considered a miniature. And since it features such a beautiful queen sacrifice, it's you know, definitely a game that should be shown as you know, those are the games that we enjoy the most. So, if you guys want, we can check this out once more in slow motion. So there we have it. Queen captures on h5 happened at this moment on move 21. There you go. Queen captures with check, and then everything else followed. Checkmate was delivered as promised. So, after rook h8, Bortnyk, of course, lost the game, and a very nice victory for Teimour Radjabov in this beautiful game that was played in the 2016 World Rapid Championship that was won by Vasily Ivanchuk. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, if you have any other suggestions such as this one, this also comes as a suggestion from a subscriber. Do use hashtag suggestion, or just email me, and then we can cover games as nice as this one. So I would like to thank Jack Farajian, Ahmad Murad Arabi, Blast of Lunar C, Aprati Mukherjee, and Brandon Luke for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Morphy saga, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.